Today, we're diving straight into a truly chilling psychological puzzle known as the seventh witness case. I am so excited to unpack this one with you because it completely turns our standard expectations of truth and deception upside down. We usually assume that a flawless, detailed memory is the ultimate proof of innocence, right? Well, today, we're going to see exactly how a perfect, unyielding memory actually became a clever killer's ultimate undoing. So settle in, because this is an absolutely fascinating study of human nature.
Let's start things off with a fundamental psychological question, one that sits right at the heart of our story. Can any human being truly recall a past event with absolute unyielding perfection? I mean, think about it. What did you have for dinner exactly 1 week ago? Can you remember the exact minute you finished your glass of water or the precise second you pushed your chair back from the table? Of course not. Human memory is naturally messy, it's fragmented, and it's always prone to little errors. And as you'll see today, forgetting is actually a hallmark of telling the truth.
Section 1. The Locked Room Mystery, a puzzling crime scene.
The story kicks off at exactly 7:25 a.m. A wildly popular author named Ryan Carter is discovered dead in his study. He's found lying on the floor with a severe head injury. His laptop is just sitting there, wide open on the desk, displaying a half-written manuscript. But here is the detail that really confused everyone. The door to the study was locked from the inside. Now, at first glance, you might think it was just a tragic accident. But the forensics team quickly ruled that out. This was, undeniably, a murder. So how on earth could a killer strike and then vanish from a room locked from the inside?
Section 2. The first suspect. The obvious target.
Naturally, the police immediately zero in on the most obvious suspect in Ryan's inner circle. Enter Ethan Brooks. Ethan had been Ryan's assistant for years, but things had recently gone really sour, ending with Ethan being fired just a few weeks prior. And what made him look incredibly guilty was that he and Ryan had a massive, bitter blowout argument the very night before the author was found dead. So everyone in their circle is immediately pointing fingers, thinking Ethan is a guaranteed culprit. It seemed like an open and shut case. But you know how it goes. The simple narrative rarely holds up.
Section 3. The seventh witness. An anomaly in the courtroom.
As the case goes to trial, witness after witness takes the stand. Neighbors, publishers, friends, and they were all acting like, well, normal witnesses. They had vague memories, they mixed up specific times, and their stories had small, totally natural inconsistencies. Again, that's just human nature. But then, the whole vibe of the trial shifted when the seventh witness took the stand. This was Noah Walker, Ryan's current personal research assistant. And unlike everyone else, Noah was totally calm, collected, and his memory was terrifyingly precise. It was this absolute minute-by-minute perfection that completely defied basic human psychology.
Noah stands before the court and delivers his timeline. He confidently states, "At 9:14 p.m., Sir drank tea. At 9:22 p.m., Sir spoke on the phone. And at 9:31 p.m., I left the house." He didn't stutter once, he didn't hesitate. It was exact, literally down to the minute. The prosecution was thrilled, thinking they had the perfect witness. The courtroom is just sitting in stunned silence at this flawless recall. But sitting quietly in the back was Detective Mason Reed. He's listening to this robotic precision and starts asking himself that same question we posed earlier. Can a person really remember an ordinary evening from a week ago with zero margin of error?
Section 4. The 17-minute gap. The facade cracks.
The turning point of this entire investigation comes down to just one number: 17. Detective Mason knew that human memory is rarely pristine. If Noah was actually telling the truth, his timeline should have some flex to it. So Mason decides to verify that exact exit time. He goes straight to the security tapes.
When Mason reviews the security camera footage from the front gate, boom, he finds the smoking gun. The camera proved definitively that Noah actually left the property at 9:48 p.m. This completely blew up his quote-unquote perfect 9:31 p.m. exit time. That is exactly 17 minutes of unaccounted time. 17 minutes where Noah claimed he had already gone home, but the cameras proved he was still there. In an instant, Noah's perfectly constructed alibi is destroyed. But the huge question now was, what was he doing in those 17 minutes, and why lie about it?
Section 5. Clues behind the perfect murder. Uncovering the motive and method.
Armed with this massive 17-minute discrepancy, police go back to Ryan Carter's laptop. Digging deeper this time, they find a weird file simply named Witness. It was heavily password protected, but once investigators finally cracked it, they found a single page containing a chilling, prophetic warning from the author himself. Ryan had written, "If something happens to me, watch the one with the perfect story." It's literally as if Ryan knew his life was in danger and knew exactly who was coming for him.
So, what was the motive? Digging into the manuscript Ryan was working on, the police uncover the hidden truth. Ryan's new book wasn't pure fiction at all. It was an exposé based on a real financial fraud ring. And his research assistant, Noah, the very guy helping him gather data, was secretly deeply involved in that same fraud. On the night of the murder, Ryan called Noah into the study and confronted him, basically telling him, "I know everything." Noah panicked. He realized that if Ryan published this book, his entire life would be ruined.
So Noah killed him to keep him quiet. But how did he pull off the locked room trick? Well, Detective Mason goes back to the crime scene and finds a tiny, nearly invisible piece of old string near the window. It turns out Noah committed the murder during that hidden 17-minute gap. Then he steps out of the study. Using that ultra-thin string threaded through the doorframe, he manipulated the lock mechanism, pulling the string from the hallway to snap the lock shut from the inside. A remarkably simple, devious trick designed to create an impossible crime.
Section 6. The Trap of Perfection. The Final Confrontation.
This brings us back to the courtroom for one final, devastating observation. Noah is recalled to the stand. Detective Mason looks him dead in the eye and asks, "Did you really remember everything?" Noah just stays silent. Then Mason completely shatters Noah's defense with one incredible statement. "You didn't remember. You practiced." Noah's face just falls. Mason had hit the nail on the head, pointing out the ultimate flaw in the killer's plan. He hadn't naturally remembered the events of that night. He had obsessively rehearsed them over and over to hide his guilt, desperately trying to make sure he wouldn't make a single mistake.
And in a moment of absolute poetic justice, Ryan Carter's own manuscript held the ultimate truth about human nature and the psychology of deception. The very last line Ryan ever wrote in his book reads, "When people lie, they make mistakes. But those who prepare lies in advance forget that humans aren't perfect." The author understood the mind of his killer far better than the killer understood himself.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? I want you to think about your own memory and the stories you hear from people every day. Does absolute perfection truly build trust? Or does an overly polished, rehearsed story actually expose the lie hiding underneath? As the seventh witness proved, sometimes our natural, messy human mistakes don't hide the truth, they're the very proof of it. And it's the flaw of an overly perfect story that ultimately exposes the darkest lies. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. And hey, always keep an eye out for those perfect stories.